Have you ever stopped to consider that working hard might actually be keeping you poor? Yes, you heard that right. The people who work the hardest are often the ones who earn the least. And the most absurd part, they keep believing that the problem lies within themselves, that it's just a matter of effort. But what if I told you the problem was never your willpower, it was your mindset? And today, I'm going to show you how to change that, not just to survive, but to thrive. Have you ever wondered why it seems like some people are simply born knowing how to make money, while others spend their entire lives struggling just to pay the bills? It has nothing to do with luck, and it's not about intelligence either. It's about mental programming. Look, when I started, I had nothing. Literally nothing. I could barely hold down a steady job. I thought I was lazy, that the problem was me. But the truth was, I was programmed to fail financially. And the worst part, I didn't even know it, just like you might not know now. From a young age, we hear phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees. You have to study hard to get a good job. It's better to have a stable job than risk losing everything." These phrases seem harmless, right? But they are invisible lines of code that root themselves in our minds. And one day when you have the chance to grow, something inside you screams, "Hey, this isn't for you. Stay where you are. Don't take risks." And you stop, freeze, give up. Now tell me, how many times have you stopped trying something new because you thought it's not the right time? How many times have you had an idea only to have the next moment's thought tell you it won't work? How many times have you accepted a salary you knew didn't value you, but stayed out of fear of losing even that? That's your program running in the background. I always ask this question to those who want to work with me. What is the highest amount you have ever earned in 1 year? And listen carefully. It's not because I want to know how much money a person has. It's because this answer reveals the invisible ceiling they have built for themselves. The person gets used to that number, and more importantly, they identify with it. They believe that's their worth. And that is the biggest trap of modern life, thinking that what you earn reflects your value. But let me tell you a simple truth. The value of what you earn is merely a reflection of the image you have of yourself. If you believe you were born merely to survive, you will live with the bare minimum. If you think money is hard to come by, it will stay away from you. If you believe you do not deserve more, guess what? You will never have more. You do not see the world as it truly is. You see the world as you are. And this is not just motivational talk. This is neuroscience. Research proves that our brain creates shortcuts based on repeated experiences and beliefs. This is called cognitive bias. If you grew up in an environment where money was always scarce, your brain associates wealth with danger, judgment, and rejection. So even if an opportunity comes knocking at your door, you will find an excuse not to answer it. That is why the first thing you need to do is not to work harder. It is to reprogram your mind. Do you know how I began to change? With something ridiculously simple. Thinking. Yes, thinking. But not the automatic, reactive kind of thinking we are used to. I am talking about directed, conscious, deliberate thinking. I read, I listened to recordings, I wrote affirmations. The same affirmation every day. I am so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in ever-increasing amounts through multiple sources continuously. At first, it felt like a lie, but over time, my brain started to accept it as true. And when your mind accepts, the world changes. You begin to see opportunities where before you only saw obstacles. You begin to move with more confidence. You begin to allow yourself to prosper. I am not an exception. I am proof that anyone can rewrite their financial story. But there is a price, and that price is not money. It is the courage to question everything you have been taught until now. It is the boldness to look in the mirror and say, I am not what I was told. I am what I choose to become. Are you afraid of failing? Great. Use that fear as fuel. Do you have doubts? Everyone does. But the question is not whether you are afraid. The question is, what will you do despite the fear? Stop now and reflect. How many years of your life have you spent just surviving? How many opportunities have you ignored, thinking, this is not for me? And if you continue on this path, where will you be in 5 years? You do not need another course. You do not need more motivation. You need to decide. And that decision starts here, now, inside your mind. Because the truth is that no one programmed you to prosper, but you can reprogram yourself. And this changes everything. 3% of the population holds 97% of all the money circulating in the world. Now, stop and think with me. Why does this happen? Are these people smarter? Were they born with some magical advantage that the rest of the world did not have? The answer is simple and at the same time devastating. They think differently. They do not follow the same model that was taught to you and me. They understood something that almost no one else understood. And I speak from personal experience because I spent most of my life in the group of 97%. These people, the 3%, do not trade time for money. They create systems. They create assets. They create ways to earn money while they sleep, travel, or even while they are silent. And do you know what is most curious? Many of these people do not have a brilliant formal education. Some barely know how to write a paragraph without mistakes. But they understand a principle that almost no one teaches. Money is a flow, and you need to learn how to position yourself where it is passing through. They build something that most people don't even consider: multiple sources of income. Look, if you depend on a single source, your salary, for example, what happens when it gets cut? You panic. You enter survival mode. You become a hostage to something that was never really under your control. And it is not your fault. It is the model that was passed on to you. I learned this the hard way myself. For a long time, I thought the solution was to work more, to do overtime, to accept more tasks. But the more I worked, the more tired I became. And do you know what increased along with my effort? My frustration. It was only when I discovered and put into practice the idea of multiple sources of income that things started to change. And it wasn't all at once. I didn't wake up one day with 5 different incomes working. I started small, with a cleaning job, a contract worth approximately 225,000 Indian rupees. And I kept adding, one more, then another, and another. Over time, I noticed some sources died off, others grew, but they all had one thing in common. They were independent of my time. They worked while I was sleeping, eating, learning, living. Now tell me, why do you still accept living with just one source of income? Do you think it's complicated? Risky? You don't have the technical knowledge. These are common objections, but the reality behind those excuses is this: you were never encouraged to think like someone who creates wealth. No one told you that you could start an online store that keeps selling even while you work, or that you could write a book and sell it for many years, or that you could teach something you already know, even if it seems simple, and turn it into a source of passive income, or even invest wisely, with the profits generating more capital. Have you heard of Elvis Presley, the king of rock? He passed away in 1977, yet even today, his records are still sold. His songs are played, licensed products travel around the world, and his family continues earning hundreds of millions of Indian rupees. He created income sources that continue to exist even after his death. This is what I am talking about. You don't need to be a music star, but you do need to understand the concept. It doesn't matter what you do today. You could be a driver, a teacher, a receptionist, a nurse, a salesperson, a freelancer. If you don't learn to create additional income streams, you will remain stuck in this cycle where time is your only asset, and time is limited. And don't be mistaken, building a second income source does not mean having two jobs. It means creating something that doesn't depend on your constant presence, something you set up, adjust, learn to nurture, and that sustains itself over time. Do you know what those top 3% people do brilliantly? They multiply their time. While most only use their own effort, they use creativity, vision, collaboration, and strategy. And here's the key. It's not about working more, it's about working better. Do you want to stay tied to a salary? Keep waiting for that raise that never comes? Or do you want to give yourself the chance to build something of your own? Something that grows even when you're on vacation? You don't have to quit everything tomorrow. You just need to start. One idea, one plan, one action, then another and another. That's how something big is built. These are the invisible gears of wealth. And if you pay attention, they're right there, waiting for you. You just need to turn the first one. There is a kind of freedom few people know. It's not the freedom to travel whenever you want or buy the car of your dreams. It's deeper. It's waking up on a Monday morning knowing your livelihood doesn't depend on punching a clock. It is looking at your schedule and realizing that the time belongs to you, not to your boss nor to the system. This freedom has a name: passive income. Yet most people still believe that this is a luxury, something reserved only for those born wealthy or for those who had luck in the financial market. Let me tell you something. Passive income is a right. You just need to learn how to position yourself to receive it. I discovered this in the most painful way possible. At the beginning of my journey, I worked so much that one day I simply passed out, right there in the middle of the street. When I opened my eyes, there was a police officer looking at me, an ambulance arriving, lights flashing. I thought I was going to die, and the worst, to die tired and poor. At that moment, something inside me screamed. It was as if a dormant part awakened and said, "Bob, if you keep going like this, nothing will remain, neither time, nor health, nor life." Then came the voice that changed everything. If you cannot clean all the offices, do not clean any. Teach someone to clean for you. That was the turning point. I stopped thinking like a laborer and started acting like a system creator. I built a small team, trained people, closed more contracts, and without noticing, I had built my first source of passive income. It was not luck. It was a decision. From that moment on, I started seeking new ways to earn money without needing to be present all the time. A recording that sells while you sleep, a product that someone delivers for you, an online course that continues generating revenue years later, a commission from a partnership, a well-structured investment. All of these are legitimate and replicable forms of passive income. But for this to happen, you need to change what you believe about money. Because many people, deep down, still carry guilt. They believe they only deserve to earn if they are sweating, tired, exhausted. And if they earn something without effort, they sabotage themselves, spend it all, reject opportunities, pretend it is not about them. But let me tell you, money does not reward effort. It rewards value. And value is not synonymous with suffering. As long as you keep believing that making money requires constant sacrifice, you will remain trapped in the old equation. More effort equals less reward. More time equals less freedom. More work equals less life. Now stop and think, would you want your children to live this way too? Because if you do not break this cycle, it will repeat itself. Children learn by example, and the example many parents give is one of scarcity, fear, and limitation. It doesn't have to be that way. You can show through your own life that it is possible to build sources of income that work intelligently, not through suffering. And if you still have doubts, look around. It has never been easier to access knowledge. You can learn to invest safely. You can create a content channel. You can sell a digital product. You can license an idea. You can become a partner of a company and earn commissions through referrals. And all of this really works even while you sleep. But for this to succeed, there is one condition. You need to act consistently. It's not about making money fast. It's about planting seeds that grow over time. You start with one. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But then comes the second, the third. And when you realize it, money begins to come from places you never expected. And the magic happens. You gain time. Time to take care of your health, to travel with your family, to invest in yourself, to do what truly matters. Don't be mistaken. Working a lot is not noble. It's just an addiction accepted by society. True merit lies in working with vision, strategy, and purpose. I learned this late, but I learned in time. And today I tell you clearly, passive income is not a lottery prize. It is a step accessible to those who decide to change. You just need to start. Choose a simple idea. Put it out into the world. Learn from mistakes. Improve. Expand. And when you realize, you will no longer be struggling to pay the bills. You will be building a legacy. There is a law in the universe that works with the same precision as gravity. It makes no distinction between rich and poor, nor between those who believe in it and those who do not. This law is called the law of compensation, and it states directly, how much you earn is proportional to the need for what you do, your skill in doing it, and the difficulty of replacing you. This was one of the most powerful truths I discovered along my journey, and to be honest, it was like a slap in the face. Because when I understood it, I realized it wasn't the economy, nor the government, nor my boss that limited my earnings. It was me. It was the value I brought, or rather, the value I knew how to deliver. Now I ask you, have you ever felt easily replaceable? Have you ever felt as if, should you not show up at work tomorrow, everything would continue as if nothing had happened? Well, that feeling does not arise by chance. It comes from the fact that you are not fully exploring your true uniqueness. The world no longer pays for effort alone. It pays for mastery. It pays for relevance. It pays for what cannot be easily copied. And when you understand this equation, everything changes. You stop chasing money and start pursuing competence applied to a real need. Consider this. You may be brilliant at something, but if no one needs it, you will struggle. On the other hand, you may be average at something that solves an urgent and relevant problem, and you will be very well compensated. I discovered there was an enormous demand for something no one taught me in school, helping people understand how their minds work and how that directly affects their financial outcomes. And that is what I began to do. Teach, guide, and above all, transform. The need was immense. The skill I developed over time, and the more I dedicated myself, the harder it became to replace me. and the harder it became to replace me, the more money flowed. It's simple, but it requires courage. Because if you want to be very well paid, you need to choose a path where you become excellent. And excellence requires decision. You need to decide to be the best at what you do. You need to stop accepting mediocrity as the ceiling. You need to study, practice, make mistakes, adjust, repeat, until your presence becomes essential. And note, this has nothing to do with ego. It's not about thinking you are superior. It's about generating value at such a high level that the only reaction from the market is to reward you with abundance. And do you know what's curious? There is no shortage of money in the world. What exists is a shortage of people willing to learn, apply, and persist, because it is easier to complain about luck. It is easier to say the rich were born advantaged. But the truth is, if you are willing to grow, money will start to follow you. Look at the great names in any field. They are not where they are by chance. They found a real pain, developed a rare skill, and became practically irreplaceable in that niche. Think of Steve Jobs. You might not like Apple, but one thing is certain. He realized there was a need to connect technology and emotion, and he became irreplaceable in the way he delivered that to the world. And the world rewarded him billions of dollars, specifically the equivalent of billions of Indian rupees. And no, you don't need to be Steve Jobs, but you do need to find your own field of excellence. Start by looking around you. What problems do people face frequently? What do they complain about? What do they pay for with a heavy heart because they have yet to find someone trustworthy? Perhaps you are already close to this and don't even realize it. Maybe with a little more study, you can become a reference point. And when that happens, your value in the market will no longer be measured by hours. It will be measured by the transformations you cause. That is why those who earn the most are not the ones who work the most. They are the ones who cause the greatest impact. And it does not matter where you are today. The starting point does not determine the destination. I started by cleaning floors, literally. But I developed myself until I reached the point where I began training people around the world. And it all began when I understood this law, the law of compensation. It never fails. It chooses no favorites. It simply responds to the value you deliver. So the question you should ask yourself is not, how much do I want to earn, but rather, how valuable am I willing to become? Because when you work on your value, money becomes a consequence, no longer an obsession. And it is here, right here, that true prosperity begins. The value you deliver to the world precisely determines what the world returns to you. Money, freedom, opportunities, all of these are reflections of what you become, not just what you do. And now that you understand this, there is no turning back. You are no longer the same person who started this video. The seed has been planted, and the choice to cultivate it is entirely yours. The next step is already there on the screen. It is time to climb one more rung on this journey of wisdom. And if you want, you can be 1% better than you were just a few minutes ago. I sincerely thank you for your attention, your presence, and above all, your willingness to grow. I will see you in the next video. I will be waiting for you there.